Hey guys, and welcome back to a new video. And today I wanted to talk about 4.0, 4.0.1. Now, CIG has been working kind of hard to release updates to kind of improve the state of the game, and they recently put out this post here. Xylo CIG kind of went over some of the things that they're thinking about and what they want to do. One of the big things is that they canceled the free flight event. Now, this was intended for the Red Festival, um, but obviously, if the game is not in a good state, then having a free fly just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But also in this post, he went over a lot of overarching topics, things that they want to prioritize. They go over here. Elevators. Elevators is a big deal. Character storing and repair, hangars, load times, mission issues, quantum travel, keeping what you earn, and different additional fixes. Okay. And they went through and they kind of listed a lot of the stuff that they worked on fixing. And I want to get into that as well as some of the issues here. Now, one of the biggest issues I think plaguing the game right now is not just elevators, but the whole transit system. And if you guys can remember, a part of the 4.0 release was supposed to be a whole new transit system refactor. And it was one of the things that I was looking forward to most. Now, it did not make the initial version of 4.0, right? But the mission system refactor did, because the mission system did not work with server meshing online. I know a lot of you have play tested some of the tests that CIG did with Pyro when they were, trying out different play accounts. Most of you might remember that they tried out 350, 500, 1,000 players even, and in these play tests, mission system just didn't work the way it was supposed to because it was not set up for server meshing, and essentially how the servers handed off responsibility for different aspects of the game. So it needed to be reworked so different servers could hand off the authority to a new server when an old server went down. So with the new shard system, these other services need to communicate in different ways to be able to function properly. So I had figured that a transit system refactor would be necessary for server meshing to work right. But obviously, it does work to a certain extent within a specific server because it's a service that is for the most part localized, right? You don't really have a tram crossing servers in a shard right now anyway. In the future, that might be the plan where you can have multiple servers in the city, for instance. And when you get on a tram, let's say the New Babbage spaceport is a server, and the Nest Apartments is a server. So to be able to go from Nest Apartments to the spaceport, you need to get on the tram, and you need those servers to be able to hand off authority between each other. So for that scenario, I think the transit system will need a full refactor, but I assume that CIG had decided, because servers managed such a large play area. I think right now they have it to where a server is handling planet, another server is handling space, right? And so they're handling large enough play spaces that an entire transit system can, reside on one server, and you don't need to worry about that handoff, right? But it's the same transit system that we had before 4.0. So obviously the same issues that we had before 4.0 are going to happen in this version. Now, I'm not a game developer, and this is just my opinion, but I don't know if other services are also built on that internal transit system. Services like hangars, cargo elevators, right? And, other things where things need to be moved around in game or spawned in and out, right? So if part of the transit system is like underlining tech, foundational tech, I do think it needs to be prioritized. So that leads me on to my primary objectives with this video, is talking about the prime directives that I think CIG need to focus on moving forward, right? 4.0 was supposed to be an absolutely massive release for the game. CIG themselves called last year, 2024, the watershed year for Star Citizen. And it was kind of far from that. In fact, we lost a lot of positive momentum that we had at, after 2023 CitizenCon, right? And I know a lot of members of the community, you can feel that. You can see it in the morale of the player base. Now, when I'm talking about key pillars or foundational tech, I'm talking about things that I think personally CIG needs to get in a finished, polished state before 1.0, right? These are, again, foundational systems that they can build on, right? And so obviously the transit system is one of those foundational systems. I think CIG needs to prioritize and work on a finished and complete transit system. I'm talking about getting all the devs to just put their heads down and get the transit system to a 1.0 level quality as soon as possible, right? Not the whole game 1.0 level quality, but this specific system is just done. You don't need to touch it again. Obviously, you can make it modular so devs can continue to work on it in the future and add certain things to it. Like, let's say you want to add a garage module to your hangar, and this garage module can bring up ground vehicles into your hangar. For instance, making a transit system that's modular where you can tack on different functionality, but it's the same underlying transit system. I think that would be very smart for the direction that they want to take in this game, because they obviously want to continue developing features even after 1.0. But the primary code base that you're using to build all these modules off of is in a finished and polished state. It's not in a state where you have a million different bugs, and it's not in a state where you have to refactor it for server meshing. Again, server meshing was the holdup for a lot of things because they didn't know how it would work, or the bugs they would run into, or how it was fully going to be implemented. They were working with iCache and different things that they thought would be the way forward. But now we have something that works in game, and we have the path forward. We know what systems we need to get. Now I think is a time where we focus on polishing up the system. So yes, transit system is one of those foundational systems that I think they need to get to a finished 1.0 state as soon as possible. The second system that I think is foundational is gotta be the physics. I mean, I enjoy, Star Citizen's janky, crazy, wacky physics as much as the next guy. But when you want to get stuff done, it can be a nightmare. Absolutely. Now, I've seen some really cool work out of Keen Software House with Space Engineers 2, them working on their physics. I mean, if you got to hire some of those guys, do it, right? I mean, in my personal opinion, it is worth the investment to find devs that are good at coding physics into a custom engine like Star Engine, and get them to create or fix a solution for Star Citizen. Everything in this game is going to be physicalized, right? You have players attaching and detaching components and weapons, and moving boxes with tractor beams, and salvaging and mining and picking up. I mean, ground mining. How long has that was that broken at one point where you couldn't even use an ROC because all the gems would just float all over the place. They would go in a million different directions. They'd hit you, kill your character. I remember those days, and it was just goofy, right? And it wasn't the problem of the ROC or the mining tech or anything like that. It was just the physics. The physics was weird. The physics was janky. And of course, there might be a number of other problems. Again, I cannot state this clearly enough. I'm not a dev. I don't work at CAG. I don't know what the actual problem was there. But to me, if you have a strong physics base, a 1.0 finished, polished physics system, then you don't have to worry about that stuff. You can reliably trust that when you introduce something new, again, the hope is, knock on wood, it doesn't break that, right? Because that physics system is solid. So I think they need to harden certain systems in the game that they can actually develop on top of, right? Now, the mission system's a big one. The mission system just got a refactor, but it's far from a 1.0 finished polished state. They still need to allow players the ability to create missions. I mean, beacons is one thing, but that is not the type of functionality that this game is going to need moving forward, right? And missions, dynamic missions, missions that are created, spawned based on player gameplay, that's something that this game absolutely 100% needs. It's gonna get stale if you just open your mission tab and just rotate through the same missions over and over. Imagine if, there are people that, go to a location and get a bunch of drugs, and it spawns a mission to, you know, stop them or recapture or something like that. You know what I mean? We see glimpses of that with, karma rays being down and that spawning, you know, this karma rays down, go back and fix it and that type of stuff. But CIG needs to dive deeper into those systems, build it out, make something again that's modular that they can add on to in the future, and just harden that system so it's in a finished and, closer to 1.0 stable level. Again, whole game is still not 1.0 out, it's still alpha, but certain systems are at a higher tier. Again, you have, mining that's tier 1, you have salvage that's tier 1, you have EVA that's tier 1, you have all of these gameplay systems that are tier 1, and it's like, okay, we got it to this kind of serviceable state, let's move on to the next thing. I think that's really starting to hurt the development of the game, and it's making everything slow to a crawl. When it comes to development, everything is slowing to a crawl when you have to say, okay, we got mining to a serviceable state, we got salvage to a serviceable state, we got refueling kind of sort of in, it's not in, we got medical kind of in, and then you just keep on moving on to the next thing. And it's going to make the development take even longer if you have to circle back and go like, okay, we need to go back to salvage, we need to go back to mining, we need to go back to, this thing. And you're always working on the same systems over and over again, introducing new bugs. I think CAG, again, they just need to put their heads down and need to pick out foundational tech and services that they can get to a 1.0 level, and so that then they can start building on things without having to keep redoing stuff. And again, a lot of this hinged on server meshing, and now we have server meshing. I think that this is a golden opportunity for CAG to say, okay, this is the development that we needed to have in to, decide if we can do, these 500 player space battles or whatever. Now that we know that that's possible, we need to start hardening some systems so we can start building on top of them. And again, that's the biggest problem that I'm seeing right now. Like, I saw a post where the devs went through and there was this huge list of things that they fixed. And if you look at this document, I'm reading through this thing and I'm like, this isn't fixed, this isn't fixed, this isn't fixed, this isn't fixed, right? And it's just crazy to me. A lot of people are saying, what is QA doing if, the player base can go in and so quickly see that all this stuff is not fixed? And you look at the language and you read it carefully, right? It says fixed an issue that caused X, right? It didn't say that problem X was resolved. It said we fixed an issue that was causing this problem. It, again, that is very specific and different language than saying we resolved this issue. It's saying no, we fixed an issue that was causing this thing to happen. So that's, again, that's specific language that doesn't guarantee. They're basically saying we had a dev go in, and they found a bug, or maybe this thing wasn't aligned, or there was this weird collision in this area, and all of those things could be considered quote unquote issues that could be causing a bug, right? And by removing those things, or changing that line of code or whatever, a QA could go in and be like, okay, I've validated that this thing was removed, this like unwanted thing in the level was removed, or this line of code was indented properly, or whatever it is. Again, I'm not a developer, I don't know, but the QA could have gone in and said, okay, this, yes, that thing that the dev said they did, they actually did that. Right? But it doesn't mean that the 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 actual problem is resolved for all players, right? So that's, again, very specific language. But if you go in and, again, let's say, be devil's advocate here, say that was the case, that all of those situations were fully resolved and it wasn't just a fixed issue, right? It's not gonna matter at all if I can't get out of my hab, or if I can't get out of the bed, or if I can't exit my hangar, right? You could fix, or you could resolve a million issues, but if I'm falling through a planet trying to do a box mission, if I'm going to another dimension in an elevator, none of those fixes are going to matter, right? So getting that key fundamental system rock solid should be a priority. Again, I don't know, like maybe it's collision culling. Why do we fall through planets so much, right? That problem needs to be locked in, right? And again, it shouldn't be one of those things where you're like, oh, okay, this new engineering feature is what's causing people to fall through planets. That's not the case. Again, I'm not a developer, but I can tell you that right now. You know, this line of code is not going to make a player fall through a planet. That's like, again, collision culling. I don't know what it could be. Everything, all of those things should have collisions, right? But again, it might be a physics thing. It might be, a part of the engine just kind of getting balked at some point when you're doing something. But if CIG can't get techs to go, devs, uh, technical people to get in and harden those systems, 1.0 is going to release and you're going to fall through a planet. 1.0 is going to release and you're going to fall through an elevator. It can't be one of those things where we say, okay, we've gone through and we fixed the bug that's making elevators wonky. Clean up the whole system. Clean up the whole elevator system. Get it working. Get it rock solid across as much as machines as you want, as you can, with QA, with players, right? Uh, that is fundamentally what I'm, assuming, hoping the preview channel could be, for them to say that, okay, we beefed up this system. We want you to test it, put it in the preview channel. It's not a patch, right? But it's tech that we need you to test. And again, if you're doing 4.0.1, again, releasing a ship like the Fortune without putting it in P2, weird decisions. I think, they said that their goal was to kind of split up the live environment from a lot of the testing that they want to do moving forward. so the live environment can be a more reliable place for players to play in if they want to, have a better experience. But now they gotta walk the walk. They talk the talk. Now they gotta walk the walk. I want to see them utilize the preview channel, even if it means, I would say the PTU for the most part is kind of locked behind a paywall where you have to be a subscriber. Forget about all of that, right? We're getting close to the home stretch here where we know what 1.0 is. This is where we really have to buckle down and swallow our pride a little bit. And you need to just give more access to more players to test stuff. Like, I'm sorry, I understand the marketing, department has a job to do. They want to sell subscriptions. They want to kind of make this stuff exclusive. But they opened up Evocati to show videos and that type of stuff. You need to be doing way more of that, right? Get as much players' hands as possible. Read the feedback. Lock in. That's basically all I gotta say. CIG has to really lock in here, because this game could grow so much from 4.0 for 4.1 from future updates. And if fundamental features of the game is not good, the flight model, the mission system, the transit system, the physics, if these basic things don't work right, none of the exciting new features that CIG has planned, they're not gonna matter. You're gonna fly around, you'd be like, the weather's so amazing, this is beautiful. People want to enjoy that, but if you can't leave your hangar, no one can, right? This fundamental stuff needs to be rock solid before you move on to anything else. And I hope, again, either take 2025 to harden all of these systems, or just have a separate strike team that's just, again, you had a bunch of people split off just to work for Squadron 42. Have those people split off just to harden foundational systems. Create a brand new strike team just to harden those foundational systems. So we're not worried about elevators. We're not worried about cargo elevators. We're not worried about hangars. We're not worried about falling through planets. We're not worried about boxes flying off into oblivion because of wonky physics. We're not worried about, things not aligning and clipping through each other. Again, that will kind of sort of still happen, but have as many people as you can. Just get, boots on the ground. Make it as, higher priority as you possibly can, because this is what this time of the game, it's getting down to the wire. It's getting more critical. It's getting more important. If this was 2018, I don't think it would matter as much. If it was 2020, I don't think it would matter as much. If it was 2022, I don't think it would matter as much. But it's 2025, right? It's 2025. And as players, we can't reconcile that, right? I've been a backer since 2014. I've been making YouTube videos since like 2020, 2019, something around there. 4 or 5 years making YouTube videos about this game. You can see hundreds of videos on my channel. I've probably deleted hundreds of videos talking about this stuff going back years now, still talking about the same stuff. I think it becomes a systematic problem with the development archetype of this game. And at some point, you need to recognize that. And it's not just taking accountability for it, but you need to strategize for it. Again, I think CIG, the whole team, they need to sit down. They need to get with their core tech team, and they need to figure out how to make this engine rock solid, right? You download Unreal Engine 5 right now. You put a terrain down, you put a character model down, you're not falling through a planet, right? They got that for the most part figured out, and I think CIG needs to do the same thing. For the most part, you need to be able to have a level designer come in and be like, create an amazing immersive space that people can appreciate by hardening the simple stuff, by making the simple stuff reliable. And you need to do that long before 1.0, right? Or people are not going to be able to, again, you're not going to be able to get excited about all these incredible features that CIG has, right? You're walking through the water, you're pushing a log out the way, and it goes flying, millions of kilometers because the physics crazy. That's not what you guys need this late in the game, this many years after, you started. So again, I don't want to be negative Nancy. I don't want to, I know a lot of people call me a white knight or, a CIG shield. I just want to give as much constructive feedback to CIG as humanly possible, because I play this game a lot and I see this stuff and I listen to the community, and to a lesser extent, I'm a content creator. So I hope that, a developer sees this video and, because CIG says that, they watch the content creators and all this stuff. I hope they really do. And I hope they come up with a plan of attack to be able to fundamentally strengthen these systems and make them more reliable in the future, not just put out a simple fix or bug fix, or get them rock solid. So that's my message, CIG. That's what I wanted to make today's video about. We got way more exciting videos in the future, way more ship comparisons. I'm very excited about that stuff, you guys. But today I just wanted to speak on the state of the patch and all that stuff, because I'm not excited about it right now, right? This is 4.0. I wanted to be excited about it, but I'm just not excited about these patches coming out, and that hurts, right? This pile is amazingly beautiful, and going through the jump point for the first time was incredible experience. The devs did so good with it. But then I came out of Quantum and I was still in Stanton, right? And I had to do it again. And you really want to make those things rock solid so that when a new player comes in, and I know they canceled the free flight, and that's a great decision, right? But when a player comes in for the first time, you want them to get that wow factor. You want them to be able to do simple things so they can feel like this is an experience that they can stick around for the long haul with. But that's gonna be it for me here in this video, you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me again. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you think about this patch? What do you think CIG should do to harden these fundamental systems? What systems do you think are fundamental that CIG needs to get rock solid? I want to hear what you guys think about this whole situation. How are you enjoying the game? I have been playing it a decent amount. Again, I would say I'm one of those people, I wouldn't say I'm a glutton for punishment, but I do enjoy the game, and even when it's kind of broken, I like to dabble. So, like I always say, is the end of these videos, you guys. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Salut!